Solarpuriya Sattva. Trust, it's what we build. Presents the Realty Debate with Niranjan Hiranandani.
It's a constant churn of emotions and views on demonetization and its after effects. While all views seem to concur on the point that the shocks and the aftershocks of the huge move will be felt by every industry, not just real estate, the Realty Debate today will focus on who will survive the demonetization move. So today on our agenda, it's a simple answer we're seeking. We're going to get our panelists to give us the top 3 to 5 survivors in real estate. And what do we mean by that? Top cities which will come out relatively unscathed. No one is not going to be affected. Top few micro markets in these cities or even elsewhere outside of these cities also, which will do well after the dust settles. And the top builders are kind of builders who have the resources to withstand the storm and continue to stand with their feet planted on the ground. Welcome everyone. I'm Niranjan and my panel today includes Niranjan Hiranandani, CMD Hiranandani Group and President Naredco West, JC Sharma, VC and MD Sobha Limited, Ashwinder Raj Singh, CEO Residential Services, JLL India, and Sameer Jasuja, CEO of PropEquity. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. I have some big data which says that home sales fell by 22% in 8 major cities to 33,304 units during the September quarter due to muted end user demand. Of course, speculators were out and have been out of this market for the last 1.5 years. Mr. Hiranandani, I'm going to come to you first and ask you honestly, the first few debates we did, everyone said, look, this is going to be a short-term effect, but now there are views converging across India where the RERA on demonetization has gone down and now everyone is beginning to do the math and saying it may not be short-term, the effect could be really long-term. So what are you summing up in real estate?
I think, Manisha, the issue is very simple. When people buy and invest into real estate, nobody looks at it in the short term. If you want to buy a house, you may postpone it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, but you will buy a house. Second, we see that people are fed up of other type of investments, which includes cash, which includes other things in the stock market, because even the stock markets have been rolling back. But the long-term investor into real estate have been very, very happy. So yes, you are 100% correct that in the short run, the real estate industry, like most of the other businesses, have been negatively affected, but I don't see any problem in the long run. Our inquiry list is very, very high. Our closure list is definitely slow. I agree with you entirely that there is a present position of pain, maybe excessive pain. I agree with you that RERA is going to bring about more pain in the future. I don't see that there's not a single inch of a doubt. Everything that you have said is correct. However, I don't agree with you when you say that the sales are going to be affected in a macro position. So if you take a 1-year scenario, I don't see any problem in terms of sales happening, especially in the Mumbai region market, at least in the long run.
So let me bring the man behind the numbers. Sameer Jasuja, come in here. And before I go to Mr. JC Sharma, I think most developers have accepted that sales have fallen and inquiries have fallen post demonetization. Here's my question to you. Mr. Hiranandani contests that this is a long-term purchase and really it might get affected for 6 months, but people don't really stop thinking about buying a house. Real estate was also the biggest place for people to park black money. Now, we might come back to this mute question in terms of just your outlook on when will the demand come back? Will it be 3 months, 6 months or longer?
Manisha, we have to really break down the demand into affordable, mid and luxury over here. I think when we talk about affordable and mid, I think the recovery will be much faster. I think you can give it between 6 months to a year, where prices will correct where they have to correct, or where the prices will remain stable and people will get the confidence back that the prices are not going to go down anymore further, and they will start buying into, from an end use point of view, in the affordable and mid markets, especially in markets where there is a lot of employment generation that is happening, and where people have the capability to go and buy properties between 50 to 70 lakhs or under 30 lakhs depending on their affordability. Coming to the luxury segment, yes, that is an area where especially in secondary markets where the prices are very high, where cash used to be a high component in transaction, and where people used to buy property also to park cash, and there were a lot of investors also out there, because luxury properties are also typically bought by many people who have a couple of properties already.
Sorry, Sameer, we are sticking then to just that argument that affordable and mid are not going to be affected. Sooner than later demand will come back, but luxury, one doesn't know. All right, hold that thought there. Mr. Sharma, there's no doubt that sales which involve any exchange of cash will be affected, and that includes not just the secondary market of real estate across India, it also includes land. Now, what everyone is saying and what I'm hearing is that property prices will come down because land itself now will become cheaper. So, new land which is bought and new projects which are launched will come at a cheaper price. How does that affect your current pricing? If for 6 months you're not able to sell at the velocity which you need to sell to pay your interest, then at what point will the market crack and will you say, hey, listen, let me bring down the prices a little bit more, otherwise I'm going to be in trouble?
Manisha, you have raised two very important points. One is technical in nature, one is fundamental. As far as technical issues are concerned, where developers who are going through with a cash flow mismatch, or a land banker or anybody who is in a hurry to divest, there may be a probability that the land prices may come down or the product prices may come down. But when we get back to the fundamentals kind of a thing, every market has its own unique positioning. I don't think in a place like Bangalore, or where we are operating today from 8 to 9 cities, average realization is 6,000 rupees a square feet, and the land prices have started falling on those markets, A, or the construction cost is likely to come down, or C, whether the supply side dynamics also likely to improve in the near future. So that is where what Mr. Niranjan Hiranandani has been telling, that short term the Indian economy is going to take a hit, because cash was the currency, 86% of that currency is gone, and people, because of the kind of reports they hear, they are taking a pause. Inquiries still remain stable. I agree with Mr. Hiranandani here again as well, but the ability to take the call is not there. But with interest rates declining, with office space absorption going with higher rentals, with what we have been looking for, ease of doing business, RERA in place, environmental ministry has come out with excellent rules. This is what we have been craving for, that let our customers get better rates from the bank, let developers have the ease of doing business. If this all results into somewhere passing the benefits to the customer, we will be too happy to pass on that benefit, to get the benefit of the volumes. But right now I don't think any possibility.
All right. Okay, Ashwindar, we're not going to go back and revisit the questions which we already have. I think it's accepted that, look, it's very difficult to have a crystal ball or read the tea leaves on when the pain will be over. I don't think anybody is in a position to do right now, and I think it's an unfair question for media to keep hounding an answer for. So let's come to the brass tacks and ask you this very simple question. 3 cities which are being touted as who will survive or will withstand this downside, the most, Bangalore, Pune are 2 cities, and Hyderabad 3. Do you agree that these are the 3 cities which will probably be standing the best?
See, Manisha, I was doing some background discussions with a lot of HFCs and NBFCs and banks which are in mortgages. I think other than Pune, if I take out Pune, because Pune is a mid-segment affordable market, does not have much of luxury, though it has. I feel Bangalore at number 1, Hyderabad number 2 and Mumbai will also be able to come out of this pain very soon. And I completely agree with what Mr. Hiranandani said. What is happening is that even when we look at our inquiries, the inquiries have been there, and most of the sales that were supposed to happen in November and December have not got cancelled, but they have got deferred. And there is a kind of flux in the market, and all the decision makers are kind of, because they're talking to a lot of people, as you said, there's a lot of discussion on the media that is happening. I feel that once the dust settles, people who are first time buyers, this is a big segment, and people who are looking at a ready to move in inventory will start taking decisions by the end of Q1 or beginning of Q2, because they had more or less decided.
You mean calendar Q1? Are you hoping that the buyer will come back between January to March of 2017?
No. Yeah.
Or you're saying April to June of 2017?
What I'm saying is end of March or beginning of April, people who had deferred their decisions, the consumer who was going to buy a house in November or December is only deferring. And because we are in direct touch with these clients, they are saying that because of a lot of confusion, they think they are going to again go back to the table with the developer.
They're not hoping for a price cut?
Yeah, that's what I said. Okay. That's a good point.
How are you convincing them that there will be no price cut?
So
because they believe that it's all about who can hold out more. And tell me, in today's environment, who can hold out more? The buyer, who's already living in a rented house and rentals aren't more than 1.5 to 2%, or the developer who in most cases has a EMI, or let's say not even an EMI, a large interest to pay?
See, Manisha, I am talking of a segment which had already decided to take a apartment. Now, what is going to happen is the developer themselves who were engaging with these clients through the intermediaries are more than happy to sit on the table with the checkbook in hand and say, let's negotiate and let's take one step at a time. You take a step forward, we will take a step forward. I don't think there's going to be a drastic change in the prices, but the developer, who's a category developer, will ensure that whatever best can be done is done, so that they facilitate the entire decision making process. Because as I'm repeating what Mr. Hiranandani said, because that was a very pertinent point that he made, that the other asset classes have started also reeling under pressure. It is not just real estate.
Okay. Fair point, Ashwinder. Hold your thought there. Other asset classes, I don't know what's happening to the debt market. I'm very confused with this now a hike in Fed rates, and one day you have bonds going up and the other week you have bonds collapsing. Here you have stock markets which also are under pressure, because you don't know which business is likely to get affected how. So Samir, you of course have always believed in, and you are a master at making money in almost all asset classes. So tell me, if look at the entire scenario and tell us, really would real estate then also not then become one of the safe havens of investments, that hello, there is a bottom to real estate at least, because prices haven't gone up in 3.5 to 4 years, and already they're at 25 to 30% lower. I can negotiate another 15% with the developer. So maybe it could be a good investment to park my money in.
Manisha, I would still maintain that personally, after understanding both the stock markets and the real estate markets, that for investors, I think the best time to invest would be the stock markets, especially with the current context of demonetization and what benefits will come to the economy in the long term. As far as the real estate markets are concerned, I think they will create a situation where the end users, which is the substantial lot, which is the lot that we should be going after as an industry, would get a fantastic opportunity to enter the market at the right price points. And we know that the demand in the end user segment is very, very high, and this probably would be the opportune time for them to come into the market.
So you are accepting that there is a lot of pent up and latent demand amongst end users. All right, okay. So I think that's what everyone's been talking about. I'm not clear on the numbers.
I would agree with you there.
Okay, fair enough. Then there is a lot of pent up latent demand, and that's likely to, how long will that demand wait is the question.
Manisha, I'd like to make 2 more points.
Okay, go ahead.
Manisha, I'd like to make 2 more points. One important point, that for the first time the end user will have the choice to buy a ready property from the developer directly, and that's a big deal. So he will save either on the rent or on the interest, either or. You know what I'm talking about? The second point that I would like to make is, so the risk gets mitigated because there is so much ready property that's going to be there for him to choose from.
Okay.
So that is going to be
so
a
then
big,
let's come
benefit,
down
and
to
also
the
the
list
prices have
of
also
markets,
become more rational.
Samir, that you think are going to withstand. I mean, I think the focus of this debate was to see who's going to be left standing. In terms of markets, Hyderabad, Pune, Bangalore clearly emerge as one of those markets, all three cities which will survive. Would you agree that Mumbai will do so as well?
I would agree with Mumbai, Hyderabad and Pune, and so will I agree with Mumbai also, because Mumbai is one city which has very limited supply. And when I talk about Mumbai, I don't talk about Thane and Navi Mumbai. So when we talk about Mumbai specifically, and I would like to leave South Mumbai out because I have my reservations there, because there's a lot of cash component that goes into that market and the prices are anyway exceptionally high over there. Leaving aside South Mumbai, I think Mumbai will not get that badly affected. And yes, Hyderabad, Pune and Bangalore, all three cities will do reasonably well, barring certain micro markets which are luxury in nature and secondary in nature.
All right. Now let's come to that big question, Mr. Sharma, in terms of what kind of builders will be left standing. Now here's the situation, and whether anyone accepts or not, but some of the marquee builders and developers also are either resting on PE money or bank loans, of course, and that's the way to do business. Interest demands are going to come back, and here's a situation where if you're not able to sell, there is that pressure to at least sell a certain number of units every month to just be able to actually honor your commitments to the lenders. Tell me, how much do you think this industry will be able to take a slowdown for, or how long will it be able to bear the brunt of a slowdown?
It's a very good question, and because of the slowdown what this industry has been facing since last couple of years, and since most of the developers had gone for high cost loan from NBFCs and others, I think every company will have its own problems to solve, and post demonetization and post RERA, if they do not act in a manner where they are not able to meet their commitments, chances are some of these developers will have to face the consequences. But I am looking at the same thing from a different angle. My view had always been that in every sector, right, there has to be a competency. This was one sector where competency was lacking and anybody could have become a developer. Now RERA coming in, demonetization happening, GST coming in, professionalism has to take place, track record has to be looked into, and all such things will count. Coming back to your interest issue, right, take for instance our case, we will be below 11% by the end of this quarter, which means we have been able to reduce our interest cost by almost 200 basis points, which in other words means that even if my debt goes up, which had not gone up despite last 2 years of this recession, I can withstand the pressure because the interest servicing becomes much less. And we are on record communicating that more than 900 crore of credit limits have been sanctioned yet to be disbursed, with no track record of defaulting or delaying any project. So for us it is a godsend opportunity to capitalize on. But at the same time we are not that way that greedy. We believe there is a space and scope in a place like Bangalore to consume 40 to 50,000 units, and if the developer fraternities, they rise to the occasion, do a proper cash flow planning, they also have a space and opportunities to grow.
Okay, I'm going to go to Mr. Hiranandani. Mr. Hiranandani, just now, there is of course an opportunity for even all the developers to sit down across the table with NBFCs, PE funds and renegotiate the terms, because hello, 21, 22, 24% ain't happening anymore. And all good builders should also be able to now get money from the banks, with banks flushed with CASAs. Here's my question to you now. What I heard before this monetary policy, which didn't really happen, was that the government realizes that if it wants the economy and GDP growth to come back to its target, it really needs to give housing a big push. And therefore, you could A, get a big interest rate cut, if not now, in the next monetary policy, that's one. And number two, you could also see some tax rationalization in the budget. and number 3, you could actually get some SOPs for housing. Now, if all those 3 come together, do you think that the fortunes of the industry could change faster than what we are predicting as March?
I think, Manisha, you've got all the points right on the nail, but you have forgotten to add one very important statement, which is the statement of the Prime Minister of India, which talks about housing for all for 2022. Now that he's got over the problems relating to demonetization and has put all those things onto track, it will be time for him to concentrate on housing, and all the things that you have said in terms of giving SOPs, in terms of giving initiatives, in terms of working at low-cost housing. Not only that, we are hearing from the Chief Minister of Maharashtra to work on fast track of creating EWS housing on behalf of the state government in the salt pan lands and other locations, revenue lands, in the case of Mada, the other lands which are likely to come. So I think there is several factors which are going to be the thing, but the main factor is the fact that the Prime Minister's statement is there and not much has been done up till now, except for the fact that they have worked on the ease of doing business. So I do expect some SOPs in the budget. We think that interest rate reduction will be there. I had a talk with the Reserve Bank Governor and I mentioned to him very specifically that the NPA in home loans is the lowest in the entire world. I'll repeat this. The NPA on home loans in India is the lowest in the whole world. The average bank has an NPA of only 1% in home loans, and the worst banks have about 2% NPA, while the infrastructure sector is 25 to 30% NPAs. So I think all in all, it would be sensible for the government to really move housing in a very big way, because it will add to the GDP growth. It is an employment generator. It's a target for the Prime Minister. And to add it all, we talked about various cities just now, and you mentioned Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune, but let me tell you, the amount of money which Mr. Fadnavis is putting into the MMR region and the Mumbai region in terms of infrastructure is almost 150,000 crores in the next 6 years, which includes the Cross Harbour Bridge, the 4 metro regions, the coastal road, and of course the RERA going up from South Mumbai from the Taj Mahal to Mandwa Jetty and the Navi Mumbai airport. Right. So all in all, I'm extremely bullish to understand that if the Prime Minister wants affordable housing and economically weaker section housing, which he does, I think the next focus will be on housing sector, and I'm very bullish that these sectors are going to do extremely well. But I agree with you entirely that the next 3 months will still be difficult while people are getting back on their feet regarding monetization and remonetization. And lastly, I must share with you that most of us builders have all turned to full white transactions as far as the peripheral areas are concerned. So we are really not bothered in terms of the demonetization move, and the people are looking for additional funds to come from the banks, and we are hoping also that the 80% cap or 75% cap which banks and Reserve Bank is doing will be increased to 85 to 90%. So the buyer, the first home buyer, will not have to put more than 10%. So all in all, I'm extremely bullish on the residential side, and the MMR region, the Panvel region, the Navi Mumbai region, the Thane region is going to really see a big boost, and I can take a bet on that. Okay, well, you versus Samir. Samir says at least those areas won't do very well. Infrastructure takes some time, but of course demand moves ahead of infrastructure coming up. Final question to you, Ashwinder. Take a scenario. Let's assume and work for the best. Understand that the government also wants that tremendous CASA which is lying with the banks now to be lent out. Industry demand doesn't come back so quickly, but consumer retail demand can come back faster, home loans can come back faster. Let's assume your home loan rates come down, you get some boosters in the budget. Do you think that's good enough to bring your buyer back, along with some amount of negotiation on the table with the builders?
I think one point, Manisha, it's been a great discussion and we've covered most of the points. One point is that there needs to be a lot of education that needs to go to the end consumer right now, because the consumer is really confused as to what is happening. So if all the stakeholders start, looking at the consumer and educating them as to how demonetization is really not linked to their home buying process. Because see, most of the segment that we are talking about, Manisha, very clearly says they are people who have a down payment and they need a home loan. After the home loan, they take the house. So where is the demonetization coming into place? Because once this confusion goes away and these shops come in with 90% LTV for the first time buyer, or a 90 or a lower interest rate, definitely for the ready to move in customer,
and
number
a higher tax exemption, I know he does that too. This has been a demand for the longest time.
One more point, Manisha, which will definitely help all the stakeholders, but the developers for sure, the high quality developers, is if real estate gets an infrastructure status. Because the moment it gets an infrastructure status, which nobody has spoken about, their cost of funding goes down. Because if you get an industry status, that is not the right thing, because then it comes with many other compliance that you have to do. Factory Act 1, 2, 3, which will again get them into rolling into different
you're
things.
asking for too much. Infrastructure status, I know it's been a demand, but I doubt it. What could happen is that it could, the priority lending benchmarks which are there in terms of 25 lakhs and 28 lakhs could be raised. Let's hope for the best. I think, gentlemen, I'm going to conclude here. One thing which I'm worried about, I just hope the economy recovers faster, because every organization that I'm talking to, they're a worried lot. NH8 in Gurgaon to Delhi, it's just completely empty. All the billboards are empty. The newspapers have shrunk in sizes. Other than wallets, everyone's fearful, everyone's worried. I think it's not just real estate. I just hope that the job losses which happen aren't too much, because remember, irrespective of what you say, the sentiments are what are going to drive real estate purchases. I need to feel extremely comfortable of my future earnings to be able to bet on real estate even as a first time home buyer. So we hope all of those will also come together. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. Recovery, well, cities and regions will depend on the fundamentals of the city. So keep a close eye on where commercial office space leasing is really strong and robust. Read all those reports by JLL, Cushman, etc. and maybe you'll get an idea in terms of where is it or which are the cities which are the best sheltered. Thank you so much and goodbye.